Hello, this is Ken, your podcast preacher, and I want to welcome you back to Deep Waters. This podcast is brought to you by Applied Strengths Ministry, where we believe working together in our strengths is the effective working out the will and calling of God in our lives. The title of this message is Fearisdom, when fear gets confused as wisdom. This is a multi-episode series in which this is episode 3 of 5. There is no doubt we should be helping one another. Now keep in mind, this is saying for the body. This doesn't say to provide them a house, a car, etc. Again, they must be trained up and equipped so that they do not repeat the cycle of thinking that may have placed them in a position of need in the first place. Back to the main flow. I am a statistical-minded person, so in chatting about the Benjamins, I was wondering who had given the most money to charity and to see if Robin Hood was on the list. I already knew, in part, I wouldn't find the Robin Hood names on the list or the drunken botcheries hanging out with him. Now, regardless of your very personal, more than likely social media influenced opinion about these people that in all likelihood you do not actually know, other than what you have heard others say about them, these are them. But wait, please pull out your calculator so that you can determine what percentage your contributions add up as compared to those rich, greedy people. It is also important that the self-proclaimed Robin Hoods, who have asked for and received money for their inhumanitarian causes, 2020 in review, know where they stand. Doesn't the Bible say that a fool and his money soon depart? I wonder if the person who said that was a rich person. So in case you missed it, it is not the dollar bills that set you apart as a generous person. Nope, it's the percentage of your wealth. The woman who gave 2 mites, worth almost nothing even in her day, but percentage-wise, it was 100% of the finances she had. Now when the rich young ruler was confronted with the same opportunity, that is, to give 100% of his prosperity to the poor, he went away sad. He made up the decision right then and there that living for the short lifespan wealthy was better than living with purpose and calling. Better than going to heaven. Imagine that. Listen, money is not a hell deterrent. You go because something in your life is of greater value to you than the fear of forever being separated from all things God. Yes, you actually believe that whatever you have, which includes a ticket to hell, is worth more than a relationship with God forever. Baffling is an understatement. And I used to walk this out, although I wouldn't admit it when I was doing so. Now initially I looked up the top 5 greedy givers, but then wanted to give credit to as many as I could find within the time frame that I have to actually share the list. On the website lovemoney.com, I found a list which gave a review of our country's giving in 2020. It states, the U.S. is one generous nation. Americans donated a record $471 billion to good causes in 2020, according to the Giving USA Foundation. Perhaps unsurprisingly, in a year defined by COVID-19 and racial justice efforts, as some of the nation's richest gave away billions, propelling themselves into the list of the most deep-pocketed Americans in history. So then I asked Google how much the U.S. has given away to charities in the past 30 years, and found the following article which I have taken the liberty of consolidating, as this is not a message in giving, although maybe it should be, and maybe it even sounds like it is. The value of charitable giving. Charitable giving pulls double duty. It makes you feel good and may count as a tax deduction. This means you're reducing your taxable income and, as a result, bringing down your tax bill. The IRS allows you to write off donations made to a 501c3 nonprofit organizations. So be sure to hang on to your receipts throughout the year. Plus, the benefits of altruism go beyond your tax liability. According to Harvard researchers, spending money on others is more satisfying than spending it on ourselves, regardless of our culture or income level. Jesus said this long before Harvard was a thing in Acts 20:35. Back to the article. To incorporate charitable giving in your financial life, consider folding it into your monthly budget. After accounting for fixed expenses and setting money aside for financial goals, like paying down debt and saving for retirement, a portion of what's left can be earmarked for monthly giving. Now, before I continue, it's actually the other way around in the Bible. You give God your first fruits and then live by faith. Now, I'm not saying give away your house payment and hope that God comes through. You have to move according to how He's leading you. If you have the gift of faith, then operate in it. Just don't expect others to operate in something that they're not gifted to operate in. LendingTree commissioned Qualtrics to conduct an online survey of 1,079 Americans, with the sample base proportioned to represent the general population. The survey was fielded September 11 through 13, 2019. This is a list of the top 30 life givers, which some are still alive and giving today. Julian Robertson, $1,100,000,000. Michael Dell, $1,100,000,000. David Koch, $1,200,000,000. Ted Turner, $1,300,000,000. Herbert and Marion Sandler, $1,300,000,000. John and Arnold, $1.7 billion. John Huntsman Sr., $1.8 billion. Pierre Omidyar, $1.9 billion. James Stowers, $2 billion. Paul Allen, $2.3 billion. Jim Simmons, $2.7 billion. Phil Knight, $3 billion. J. Paul Getty, $3.2 billion. Eli Broad, $4 billion. George Kaiser, $4 billion. James Levoy Sorensen, $4.5 billion. Barron Hilton, $4.6 billion. Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan, $5.7 billion. Gordon Moore, $6.3 billion. Leona Hemsley, $8 billion. Mackenzie Scott, $8.6 billion. Chuck Feeney, $9 billion. Andrew Carnegie, $9 billion. John D. Rockefeller, $9.7 billion. Howard Hughes, $12.5 billion. Michael Bloomberg, $13.4 billion. Helen Walton, $16.4 billion. George Soros, $32.6 billion. Bill Gates and Melinda French Gates, $50 billion. Warren Buffett, $55.9 billion. That's a total of $278.8 billion. I didn't see my name on the list, but percentage-wise, it's possible to make the list. Well, that's it for today. Ching ching. Remember, it's not what you find wrong or disagree with regarding these messages, but what you can take away from it. Now, before I finish the close, yes, some of these people are spending money on things that are not kingdom. That's between them and Jesus. Some of them are, and they just don't know it. That's why the kingdom is not really about money. It's really about your heart, about your relationship with God. Together we can do more to impact the kingdom than if we work alone. Let's flip the script and kill, steal, and destroy the works of the enemy, and create space for the light of lights to shine through in people's lives. Plant a seed and click on the like and subscribe buttons. Let's build this ministry together. Thanks, and see you next time in Deep Waters.